Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And on this one, it's the LJ Derby. Let me first introduce you to our Fulham correspondent. It's Lewis James.
Hello.
How are you, mate?
I'm all right. Yeah,
Good,
I'm all right.
good stuff. And our Aston Villa correspondent, Lee Jackson's in. How are you, Lee?
Very good, mate.
Good stuff. Lewis, you must be pretty pleased with Fulham's start, mate.
Yeah. I mean, it's been it's been good. It could be better. I think, West Ham was a frustrating game. we're dominated because, like I said, on correspondent, a clash of the correspondents. I don't think their style of play at that point had really changed much from Moyes. And then both away games in Manchester. I think if we'd got a point in both games, I don't think anyone would have said it was smash and grab. So good start, but could have been better.
No, I think look, the three wins, two draws, two defeats, the two defeats being in Manchester. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good start actually on what you've had so far. And Lee, how are we judging Villa's league start so far, mate?
Good, good. 2 points per game, 14 from seven, in the mix. We've had decent fixtures, so I think we'd expect that sort of level. But yeah, it's just encouraging to see. I think as a Villa fan, we always naturally assume that we're going to drop off at some point, and this dream that we've had under Unai Emery is going to come to an end. But no, really happy with how we've started the season.
Yeah, you should be. I think it's fair to say though, it's probably hit expectation with the fixture schedule, probably bar the one defeat to Arsenal. We wouldn't have expected you to get beaten any of the others.
Mm, true.
And Champions League, it's going all right on it.
Yeah, easy. What's all the fuss about?
Well, I don't know. It's just a Mickey Mouse competition now where everyone plays each other to with no jeopardy. So, I mean, even you can't get eliminated at this stage, can you?
No, no, not
No,
yet.
genuinely you can't.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not going to now. You've won the first two games. How big for the club is the Bayern victory?
Massive, massive. I think it was the perfect tie in terms of that nostalgia, with obviously in 1982 beating them in the final, all that came with that, and especially with the passing of Gary Shaw just before the game. It felt yeah, it felt very moving with all the players from 1982. They did a nice sort of dinner for them the night before of the game, really treating them well. And they put Gary Shaw's name on the back of the program, which was a nice touch as well. Yeah, it was a really special night. Um, I said to my old man at 75 minutes in, I said, "Would you take 0-0 now?" And he looked at me and went, "Yeah," as if to say, "What a stupid question." Of course you would. So yeah, when that Duran goal went in, just absolute bedlam. And it's like you said in the summer, mate. You want the big ties, and you
Oh,
want the big ties
100%.
because there is the potential of that. And if you play that fixture 9 times out of 10, we probably don't get that result. But for that one time out of 10, yeah, you want those games, you want those memories.
Yeah, of course. I mean, even if you look at Fulham's run to the Europa League final and the teams you beat on that
Yeah,
route, like Juventus and Roma and stuff, like they stay in your history forever. You know, young boys away, like well done, that's nice, but you want that. I was
yeah,
there when we beat Bayern Munich, that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
no, congratulations, mate. Is there anything though that we'd read on the two league performances either side? Because it was so big, I think, for the club, the history of the fixture, everything. Is there anything to read into that in the performances against Ipswich and Manchester United either side?
Yeah, I think it definitely had an impact. I think there was a thought of when we took the lead against Ipswich of, oh, is there a chance here to sort of rest up a bit, take it easy, just see this game out and focus on Wednesday night? And that caught up with us, and we weren't able to sit out. And the Man United game, I was there on Sunday, was as flat a performance as I can remember. Um, it's funny, we lost to Man United twice last season, home and away. We've got a point against them this season. But I remember sitting there last season thinking, we're better than these. We're playing better than these. We should be
Yeah.
winning this. Whereas I didn't feel like that on Sunday at all. I was sat there thinking, we look dreadful. We don't deserve to win this game. We're flat. It's just not quite there. And there's personnel missing that's playing a part in that. I think we've got no McGinn, no Onana on Sunday. Konsa went off early. So there's some big players in the spine of our team that were missing. Ramsey was also missing, who's been really good in recent weeks. But yeah, it was very flat. It was poor on Sunday.
Is there anything to read into that? I.e., your next Villa Park Champions League game is on the Tuesday after the Fulham game.
Yes.
Is there anything to read into that, or is it just a case of Bayern Munich? It's so big.
I think Bayern Munich is so big, and I would also hope that they would learn from that as well. Actually, that maybe we took our finger off the pulse a bit in that Ipswich game. Emery, I would hope, would be saying, "Look, that can't happen again. If we take the lead, if we're lucky enough to take the lead against Fulham, do not let your heads drop. Do not let that concentration slip. Keep the levels high."
Do you feel an adjustment, though, in what you've seen so far, and more a kind of a saving of legs? I think you've referenced it already with the Ipswich game. That psychological, we've got another game in 3 days.
Yeah, there is an element of that certainly, and early substitutes. We're going to see it. Watkins historically has always been a 90-minute man, whereas we've seen this season regularly, and it's helped by the fact we've got Duran on such good form that at 60, 65 minutes, it's like, right, get him off, get Duran in.
We'll come back onto him. Lewis, I've said recently we need to start thinking differently about teams going to Craven Cottage. It's this nice away game on the Thames, because it's not in a village in the northwest. It's not deemed as like a difficult away game. It's like a nice day out. Your home record for a sustained long period now has shown that this is a tough away game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a bizarre one because, like you say, you would normally say like St. James's Park would be a hard away game, and it's a lot to do with the atmosphere and the fans, and then Fulham isn't like that, but it just seems to have that effect on players, opposition players. I don't know why, but like you say, last season we were really, really good at home, and we've started this season. I mean, look, if we didn't throw it away in the last seconds against West Ham, we would have won every game at home. So yeah, I would say it was like when you were talking about Forest and how on your difficulty tracker, you maybe review the difficulty, and I think it's at Craven Cottage especially. I think it's probably the same story.
Yeah, I've made Fulham away a much tougher fixture. I've also at the moment made Fulham at home a tougher fixture for teams as well. And actually, my remodeling of my tracker threw up something quite interesting over the next five. I've now got you top of that.
Yeah, we've got
Villa
good
at home,
fixtures.
Everton away, Brentford at home, Crystal Palace away, and Wolves at home is
Mm.
a nice run of five fixtures before there is then a really difficult switch again where you have Tottenham away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away, and three of the four afters. But yeah, this run of fixtures is really good actually over the next five. Does that influence your thinking going into Villa? Do you think, well, Villa Champions League team, I'm happy with a point going into this one, and the fixtures afterwards are good? Or do you look at a side like Villa and think we can be beating them?
I honestly think we can beat anyone in the league, especially after going away to City last week. And Silva tactically outplayed Pep. He got his tactics spot on, and I think it's showing that we've got a different way of playing the game when needed. No one's seen that we'll be playing right wing back. And obviously I know it was a lot to do with getting Lewis to stop going into midfield by basically saying, "Are you going to leave Adama Traore?" And that it worked. It's just a shame, like we said last podcast, Adama Traore's 2% just isn't quite good enough, unfortunately.
I think
Um,
Pep summed it up well, didn't he? He was like, you can't defend him,
no,
but
but
it's always been the case with him where you just pray that his decision making at the end
yeah, my
is
older
wrong.
brother said that if he had a bit more composure, he'd be playing for Real Madrid. So
You know what I
not
never
Fulham.
understand when he gets in them positions, why he doesn't go around the goalkeeper. If he pushes it past the
Yeah.
goalkeeper, what's the goalkeeper going to do? You ain't
Especially
catching him,
the
are you?
second one. I mean, the first one he's unlucky because Edison goes the wrong way and it just hits his leg. It's a good
Yeah.
save. The second one, Edison goes down early. Just go to the right, go towards the goal, and that's why he's playing for Fulham and not a
Yeah,
Champions League club.
well, yeah,
So
and the last one, he's absolutely blitzed. Carl Walker.
yeah,
Yeah,
Don't see it, mate.
no,
Elaborate on these tactics if you can. And so, where we played obviously this real defensive role, I guess a hybrid role at
yeah.
City at the weekend. Is that something that's designed just for City, or do you take that into an
Um,
opponent here like Villa?
we wouldn't play it against Villa. Not at home. I think we'd expect to have more of the ball anyway. And I know Villa are a Champions League club, but they're not City away sort of thing. I think when you go to like we could see it at the Emirates or at Anfield. I don't ever envisage we're starting in a back five at home. It's something if we're winning, then obviously he likes to now drop into a back five.
So
But
you'd expect it in this forthcoming set of games over the next five to revert back to what we'd seen prior to City,
yeah,
back four, Traore back on the right.
yeah. I mean, he might. It depends who he's playing up against fullbacks wise. You might see that it's weaker to play. I'm on the other side like you did last week. But I'd expect we to just play the way we've been playing before the City game.
Okay, understood. But then those fixtures afterwards, things like Tottenham away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away, you might use this alternative system, do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Lee, talk to me about Ezri Konsa. What do we are pre-recording on Wednesday morning. What do we know at the moment, mate?
Very little. So not much came out post-match about the injury. The only things that I would take from it would be that he looked visibly upset when he went down. It didn't look like one of those where it's like, oh, it's a bit of a knock, and then I'm going to have to come
He
off.
knew.
He looked frustrated, like, oh, I've done something here, which is a massive concern. He's the most important defender in our side. So yeah, if he's out for a sustained period, that high likelihood of clean sheets that I always talk about for Villa is gone.
It's interesting though, isn't it? I mean, you could see all the tweets sort of like 2 weeks ago, or even last midweek, rather. Can't keep a clean sheet home to Wolves, Everton, and away to
Yeah,
Ipswich.
yeah.
Oh, Bayern Munich, you can. Do you anything in that? Because obviously you did beat Arsenal and Man City 1-0 at home last year.
I think there is something in that, and it's similar, obviously on a very different level, but it's kind of similar probably to what you've said about Arsenal, where it's like in the big games that concentration is there. It's like we've got to keep a clean sheet. It's Bayern Munich. We've got to be on our toes. Whereas actually, that level of concentration can slip in the what we call on paper easier fixtures. I think, and there is something in that to say, yeah, psychologically, mentality wise, on a loud night, an evening game at Villa Park in the Champions League no slip ups, the concentration's there. Whereas actually away from home at Ipswich, it wasn't.
Is it though in a way as a collective? Is it a bit? It sounds ridiculous. A little bit easier to defend because you know you're going to have less time with the ball, so you're going back into your defensive shape far
Yeah,
quicker. Whereas you
exactly.
look at some of the goals you conceded. Cunha against you is a second ball and a long distance strike. Dwight McNeil's also pinching the ball off you and a
Yeah.
long range strike. The goals against Ipswich is a cutback from a wide position, and then the second one, the lap obviously runs at you and scores a really nice goal. Whereas maybe those sort of scenarios don't happen so much. Like
Yeah, I
even the
think that
Cunha one, it's like off a second ball. The big clubs aren't playing that way.
no, that's exactly it. We've shown over the last couple of seasons that if we get ahead or if we get into shape, whether we're winning or drawing, we're very hard to break down. But yeah, in transition, when we lose the ball or get caught out, that's when those opportunities can arise. And that's probably more likely to happen against a smaller team.
Despite your advice in the last international break to not go near Villa defence, which from fantasy purposes largely proved to be correct, although Konsa did score
Yeah.
against Wolves, the majority who went there looked like they went for Konsa. I
Mm.
assume at this stage we're saying sell, are we?
Well, I think it's watch and wait, isn't it? Certainly. Um, if Emery comes out at the end of the international break and says Ezri's trained, he's fine, then great. But it's unlikely. I think the advice is always obviously take it easy during international breaks. Let's not make any moves too early. But yeah, as it stands, it looks like it's probably a sell.
What about Luca Dean owners?
I think Luca Dean's a hold. He's in that don't buy, don't sell category for me.
Okay.
I think especially now we're in a position where we can roll up to 5 transfers. You want to hold them back for the big hitters if possible, don't you? If you want to play that okey cokey and make sure that every week you've got the best captaincy option. I don't think
It's,
moving a Villa defender is necessarily worthy of a transfer unless you absolutely have to.
I get that. There's a lot of the enabling options have, I guess, decent fixtures this week, as primarily because Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich Everton play each other. That there'd be people sitting with a 4.0 going, I'd maybe
Who
rather
else
play
shit the
that.
cause?
What's that, Lewis?
Who else shit the cause this week?
There'd be some people that think I want to play those assets rather than a Luca Dane. What do you say, Lee?
Yeah, yeah, I'd fancy that. So if you're
And
sitting there with
also, you've got Tottenham and Liverpool away coming up, and I know what you said about the concentration, but you wouldn't go into either of those games expecting a clean sheet, would you?
no, I think if you've got Jacob Greaves on your bench, I'd be playing him over a Villa defender this week.
Okay. Sean Norton's going to love you again, mate. Anthony Robinson owners, Lewis. What should they be thinking at the moment?
Um, I mean, I would keep, like
It's
you say, we've got
cold with these fixtures, isn't it?
good fixtures coming up, and um, he had a really good start of the season. Obviously, against City, he was naturally didn't do what he normally does. And Forest away is also a hard game, where again, I think it maybe caught by surprise. Forest's team. I think he was maybe expecting Elanga and Hudson-Odoi to play. So I think it maybe took 10, 15 minutes to sort of work out what was going on. Um, so we started slowly there, and we didn't really get going the whole game. And it was a penalty that won the game, and that was if it was 0-0, then that was probably you couldn't really argue with it. So maybe that was a game where we gained 2 points, when the West Ham game where we lost 2 points. So maybe it just levels out now.
That's your only clean sheet, though, isn't it? The Forest away game.
Yeah, but I also think Anderson has came in and made a massive difference.
Yeah.
He didn't play the first few. Um, and obviously we've had City away, but just in general, the leadership is something that Palace could probably do with right now in the back. So yeah, he's made a massive difference.
If people on wildcard, I think it's perfectly reasonable to want to look at Fulham at the moment. If people want to invest in new and they haven't already owned Robinson but want one, Robinson or Anderson for you now at this stage.
What's the price difference?
So Robinson's 4.7, Anderson's 4.4. Anderson could go to 4.3
Yeah,
over this break.
Anderson, definitely. I think that's a big enough save and justifier. I do think that Robinson has higher potential, but that's a bigger saving than just like a point one. So
It probably needs Anderson to go to the 4.3 though, doesn't it? Because you don't want to invest on a player at 4.4 who, oh, it
yeah, it
doesn't
could
keep
go
a clean
down.
sheet, could go
Yeah,
down. Yeah.
he's
So
always got that assist potential. He's the long ball over the top. Yeah, is something that he's really good at. And against certain teams, just leave space behind the back four. I think
yeah,
that.
I think Anderson. Um, if he goes to 4.3 would be the pick of the two, actually.
Yeah.
And it feels much kind of benching a player at that sort of value rather than Robinson's value. No consideration for the likes of Tete at the moment or Bassi. I know you keep saying to me Cuenca's going to get in the team eventually, but he's injured at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, I think it's funny because Silva's every opportunity he gets, he seems to lord over Cuenca. And obviously, like you say, he's picked up an injury at the minute, but he should be back after the internationals. However, Bassey's not really put a foot wrong,
Okay.
over the season. So I can't see that benching happening anytime soon, sort of thing. And then Teddy is, I wouldn't go near, Castagna's there, and you brought Castagna on pretty early in the game against City. So that's just an unnecessary headache, I think.
That's fair enough. Lee, I presume in terms of if people on wildcard they wanted a Villa defender at the moment, you're just going to say no again, are you?
Yeah. Simple.
Goalkeeper, no.
No, I don't think it's worth it for the
Is that
money.
the same for you, Lewis? Leno, not worth it at the moment.
No, I don't think Leonard's been particularly good this season. I think there's been a few goals where
I agree with that.
he should be doing
Is
better.
is is there something there that's a concern?
Um, it seems to be anything outside the area he really struggles with.
Yeah, I'm thinking about
The
the
Laps
Balat goal
goal,
is yeah.
and then even the City goals, all three of them are outside the area. I know one of them's got a massive deflection. Um, but there maybe is something that, and if you look at last season, I remember away at Anfield, we were 2-0 up in that game, and then they scored three outside the area goals, and we lost 3-2, I think. So I think he's getting old now. I don't think he's old for a goalkeeper as per se, but um, there's the likes of Kelleher look like they're going to be available in the summer, and I wonder if Fulham maybe look at that as a long-term goalkeeper.
Keller is going to be playing for Liverpool over the next month or so, and I don't suppose you pick Martinez or Leno over him at the moment. I'm
No,
going to guess.
definitely not. Definitely not. No.
No. Okay. Lee, I got a predicament, right? And without this robot guy,
Hmm.
there's only one way I'm getting to him, and selling Ollie Watkins is part of it. Thoughts?
I mean, Watkins historically is a streaky player. He goes through these patches where it doesn't quite go for him, and then he tends to go on runs where he'll score in back-to-back games. He didn't score against United, obviously, but prior to that, he was looking in really good form. I think if you've got Watkins and you've got Haaland, then that's fine. I don't think I'll be in any rush to sell Watkins. Watkins is a steady Eddie you could keep in your team all season, and you know he's going to tick along with points. But equally, if I was in your shoes, I would be selling Watkins to get Haaland, yeah. That being said, though, no Haaland's done you well so far, hasn't it, mate?
I really don't want to sell Watkins.
You know, I had Haaland. I didn't have Haaland, sorry, until 2 weeks ago, and I sold Palmer as part of a -4
Boom.
the week that he got 4 goals. So if my
Boom.
recommendation is don't even bother, it's not worth it.
Is there a point now on Watkins where he's done really well here is across the four really good fixtures that you had, right? And I think it's fair to say if we look at your next four, that's tough, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
Fulham, Tottenham, Liverpool, all away in part of that. It's unlikely I'd give Watkins the armband at home to Bournemouth, I think.
No, I wouldn't be.
So for me, it's Watkins and Saka to Haaland and Diblin.
Saka to Dibling's a massive one, isn't it? Though,
I realise this.
You're
But I'm
losing
looking at it
two
and
great
going,
assets
the Diblin
to
bit's
get
kind of
Haaland.
irrelevant. What I'm trying to weigh up is because if I get Haaland in, it's like 4 in a row, right? I think captaincy. So I'm almost just Haaland times 4 times 2 is 8 versus Saka and Watkins over the 4. What scores me more? Now, obviously, because the transfers involved, Haaland's got to outscore it. I'm leaning more towards he's going to do it.
And it's also who are you playing in those weeks? If you're selling Saka, Dibling's coming in, but maybe you're not playing Dibbling in all those weeks.
Well, segue, it's probably Morgan Rogers, mate.
Okay.
Because at the moment, I've got him bust on the bench again.
Yeah. Yeah, someone said a couple of weeks ago with Rodgers, it's like he's one of those players that looks great, fantastic footballer, but not an FPL asset, and is never going to be an FPL asset. I don't agree with that. I do think there is going to come a time this season when everyone wants him at that price. I think it's incredible. He's playing as a front two, remember, alongside Watkins. He's involved in everything. And yeah, he, again, against Man United, the only half chance we had in the first half fell to him. I think points are coming. I do rate Rodgers. I think he showed at the end of last season his ability to score goals, and I think he will go through a streak at some point this season.
It's also worth saying across the 3 away games you've got coming up, Fulham, Tottenham, Liverpool, Diblin has Leicester at home, Everton at home, and Wolves away.
Yeah.
Whereas when Diblin goes to Man City, you've got Bournemouth at home. Then Diblin's got Liverpool and you've got Palace at home. It actually works.
Yeah.
Even to rotate them in coming weeks. I don't want to buy this robot. I want to fight against it, but I really also don't want to captain Dominic Solanke this week. Could I consider Ollie Watkins away to Fulham, Lee?
No, sorry.
No.
No, I don't like that. I just think for exactly the reasons Lewis has said, Fulham away is a tough fixture. It's one of those where, a bit like last season for Villa, we managed to get the win there, delighted, get in, get out. That's it. It's not going to go off. You can't be captaining Watkins at Fulham, I don't think. It's just not. The ceiling isn't there to justify it.
No, unfortunately I agree with you. I guess perhaps more the debate on Watkins at the moment is almost comparing him into Saka and Palmer, probably off the table comparing him with Palmer now. But how would you view him as an asset versus, say, Saka? And I realise Saka's got a million more in price on top of him. Which asset would you rather have of the two?
Saka. I think in any given week, if we have the same fixture, Arsenal are more likely to score 4s and 5s than Villa are.
But Watkins is more likely to score the goals, right?
Be the talisman. Yeah, get that. But no, for me, it's Saka. Saka gets an extra point per goal as well, gets a point for clean sheets. I've got Havertz in my team with no Watkins for that price saving. And for that similar logic that I just see Arsenal scoring more goals. And even though Havertz isn't the talisman and Watkins is, I think that saving on Havertz is worth it.
How much do we factor Duran in this as well? It's worth saying Watkins' last 4 league games, 83-90, 83-90 is his minutes. So to me, that looks like zero concern. But how much should we factor Duran into our thinking about Ollie Watkins at the moment?
Yeah, I think we know that Watkins had a knock at the start of the season when he was getting these early subs. So yeah, his minutes have been good for the last few weeks, but we know that we've got a very, very capable alternative in Duran. And it's worth saying, in all of those games, we've been chasing either being behind or chasing a winner against Man United at the weekend. We were behind against Everton, behind against Wolves, behind against Ipswich. So by throwing Duran on with Watkins, that's almost about game state. Whereas actually, I think if we're winning a game, you're likely to see what you saw in those first three, which is actually Watkins comes off and Duran comes on.
Yeah,
Um,
understand that. So you don't think there's a likelihood of them playing together from
unless
a
we're chasing
start
a
in the
game.
near future?
No, I don't think so.
Probably only if it was enforced by injuries, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think so. It's worth saying Emery has said that they will play together and they've shown that they can do this. We need to find a way of getting Duran in there, but I can't see it. We haven't seen it yet. They haven't started a game together, and I don't see that changing.
How good's his link play if he drops short? Duran, that
Duran,
is.
good. I thought I was watching him quite closely against Man U because obviously we were a bit sloppy and trying to create, and he was dropping short quite a bit. And I thought some of his touches and his link play was really strong. What
Go
do
on,
you
Lewis.
think of
You
his?
were going to say something there. Go on.
Yeah,
I was just saying he shoots from anywhere. He doesn't do the link play, he just shoots.
well, there is that. Yeah,
He probably has scored the goal of the season so far. In fact, if Watkins got injured, Lee, you just go and buy Duran just straight away.
in fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's simple.
I mean,
We
even
don't.
if it, say you were walking into Tottenham away, Liverpool away, if Watkins got injured prior to that, do you still just, oh, I'm just going to Duran? Do you just do that?
I think so. In the form that he's in, you've got to factor that in, haven't you? They're tough fixtures, but he's in the form of his life. He's full of confidence. Yeah, I'd be
He
going
he's
straight in.
signed a new contract now as well, hasn't he, John Duran?
He has, yeah. So that was the news that came out this week. Yeah, till 2030. So long-term deal. Good. I think this is part of the conversations that was happening in the summer. Is that Duran wanted more money, wanted a new contract, and Villa was sort of saying, "Well, we haven't really seen it from you yet. We want to keep you. We rate you, but also if a side's willing to pay 50 million, we're open to offers." And I think Duran got a bit annoyed because he felt like he was undervalued or underpaid versus his peers.
Can you foresee a situation here where the club would take money for Watkins? Not like in January. I'm talking about like next summer or something, where they just allow Duran to naturally take over and you put a lot of money in the bank.
Not unless Watkins was desperate for it. I think if Watkins turned around and was like, "Look, I really want to go," and you could see that there's a risk here of him getting pissed off, then maybe they'd listen to offers, but it would have to be big offers. Because I think the other thing that the club will be factoring in is stuff like shirt sales, England player, scored a big goal for England, the kids love him, all that kind of side of it is that Watkins really is at the heart of what we're doing. And he's been there for 4 years now. Like he's a big, big part of this club and the growth that we've seen in the last
But
few
we're
years.
looking at Duran and probably saying like my point being would be if Watkins did go, you're not replacing Watkins per se. You're probably more going and buying the next Duran, and Duran
Yeah,
just takes over, right?
yeah, agreed. We have got a starter there that if you told me that Duran would be starting every game, that wouldn't be a massive concern for me.
Because what would Duran go on the market? Say at the end of because there will come a point, I guess, for him. If the situation is still the same for John Durant at the end of the season, he's going to ask some questions, isn't he? Whether he signed a
Yeah,
contract or not, he's going to be like, "Come on,
mm,
I need to play football now," and I think everyone would accept that.
agreed.
He'd go for massive money, wouldn't he?
Yeah, you'd have to be looking at 70.
I don't think that's completely unrealistic at his age and his profile and
It's the
stuff.
potential, isn't it?
Yeah, and people want to invest in that. So I'm sure that this time next year, John Duran may well be a Chelsea football player. Don't rule it
Are
out,
you going to say
kids.
Tottenham?
No, we ain't paying that money, mate. Don't be silly. And we
Hmm.
we got Dum Dum anyway. Talking of forwards, Lewis, Raul Jimenez. Is he on a
Hmm.
streak, mate?
Yeah, well, I mean, stats don't lie, do they? It's a much needed streak because Munoz didn't start the season. I mean, it's not that he didn't start the season well. He just, sometimes you just need that first one to go in as a striker, I think, and then sort of it rolls on. But yeah, he just looks fitter and more confident in sort of our system this year. And I think it helps the fact that he's got quality behind him. Emile Smith-Rowe. specifically is, I've said it before, he's levels above anything else on Fulham's team from a creative point of view. So um, I think I haven't got Jimenez. It just doesn't work because I've got Haaland, Watkins, and Solanke. So it just doesn't really work for me. But I think if someone wanted to get him in for the next five, then I wouldn't say don't do it. I can't. I know Sudge was maybe talking about Munoz coming in,
Nah.
but I just can't see it. I don't understand why Silva would change it. I know Munoz scored on Saturday, and that's good. You need two strikers scoring. Obviously, like Villa. I can't see him changing it though.
No, I said to Suj, you probably heard it, that there was no
Yeah,
danger in the immediate while
yeah,
Jimenez is doing well. That's right, isn't it?
yeah. I'd say so.
Okay. 5.6. That's kind of comparable to your Calvert-Lewins, your Vardys, your Delaps. They've all got decent runs over these forthcoming fixtures. Would your preference be with your man?
Yeah, 100%. Um, we've got three home games as well in the next five, and that makes a massive difference. You look at Smith-Rowe's returns; he's only returned in home games this season. I don't know if there's something in that. I don't know if maybe he'd be set up slightly differently that doesn't benefit him away from home. And yes, he will come back into the team. It
Who?
was,
Smith-Rowe, yeah.
yeah, it was just purely tactical. Pereira's got more legs on him, which was needed. Would be my take on that.
Yeah, I think the only thing to say on Smith Rowe, to be honest, I didn't even really think it was a point to raise. I just thought it was Man City away. But it might come back around again, right? For those like the Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool fixtures. It's not a danger, I think, in the immediate. Sure, he comes back in. You said the tactics go
Yeah,
back to what they were. But there's a danger that might happen for Smith Rowe again, right? In the tougher
yeah, I think
fixtures.
yeah, if you're having to play Smith-Rowe, it's Liverpool away and City away, then your team's probably not very good. Um,
You've got him,
so
haven't you?
probably. Hmm?
You've got him, haven't you?
Yeah, he was on my bench.
Okay, so I mean, would your intention be to hold through and that run of fixtures with the Tottenham,
Yeah.
Arsenal, Liverpool games and bench him, or would you be thinking I'm selling him at that point?
I think it just depends what else is, if there's an obvious pick, like I've got Morgan Rogers as well, so it's not like if Peter wanted to flip to Morgan Rogers after these next five, then obviously we're not going to say no. But I just think you're going to be consistent all season, and if you can afford to just keep him on your bench, then and play him specifically in home games, then I would.
Yeah. The other thing I think is quite interesting for those who want to invest in Jimenez, and it may even be the case for those holding Smith Rowe as well. It's quite well documented. There's some decent enabling assets at Brighton who have shit fixtures at the moment. When yours get bad, theirs get good. It flips
Mm,
there. So you could look at Jimenez now into João Pedro, Rutter,
yeah,
Welbeck, whatever the flavour is at that point. And I think similarly with Smith Rowe, maybe even to Minter or an
yeah.
alternative at that point as well. Also, Wolves come into some good fixtures at the same period as well.
Eventually.
Wolves a little bit earlier than that. The switch to Brighton almost works basically perfect.
Mm.
That's interesting. Okay, Mr. Lee Rogers. Is he? If he was on wild card now, does he got to go in? Would you start looking now at, oh, actually, Tyler Divlin's at like 0.7 less or?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's got to go in. I think if you'd have asked me that a few weeks back for people who wildcarded a bit earlier, I'd have said, yeah, with those fixtures coming up. But like you say, the next four are tough. So I wouldn't say he's got to go in. I still think he's a great option at that price. What's he at now? 5.1, 5.2, 5.3. Yeah,
Three, and it'll probably go to 5.4 soon enough.
I still think it's a really good price. Um,
His ownership within the community is massive. You see him
yeah,
in the majority of teams knocking about on
yeah.
socials.
And you can see why.
Oh, of
Um,
course.
the only question mark in pre-season was, is he definitely going to start every game? And I mean, that's become clear now, hasn't it, that he is going to start the
Well,
majority of the games.
it's not just the starts that's impressive. It's the minutes.
Yeah,
He played 90 minutes in all but one. And the one he didn't, it felt like, right, we're saving you a bit for Bayern Munich. And you
yeah.
didn't play as well when he
It's
went off.
Ipswich.
I think that's clear.
Yeah, 100%. He's become so important to the way we play. Sudge was saying on the pod on Monday, wasn't he? The way that he runs with the ball, turns and runs with the ball. Yeah, it's frightening. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, even in the Arsenal game that we lost, Rodgers walked away from that with lots of plaudits of people going, "Wow, look at this kid."
His inspected goal involvement so far this season is 1.99. Yuri
Mhm.
Tielemans is 1.89. Are we missing something?
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? It is only 7 fixtures though. And we're still unclear on who's on penalties because Tielemans is the one that most Villa fans think
Mm,
might be on penalties as well.
I'd think so. But people got
Um,
excited about Rodgers taking them for the England under 21s, didn't they? Didn't they?
yes, yeah, that's correct. I mean, price-wise, they're about the same, aren't they? Tielemans is 5.5. So, yeah, it would still be Rodgers for me, though, just based on where he plays on the pitch. Tielemans is in a much deeper role. There is that potential where Rodgers could score a brace in a fixture, whereas I don't see Tielemans scoring a brace in a fixture.
No, that's fair enough. And hasn't Anana outperformed Rodgers for returns as well?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, the beast. Onana's just fitted in so well to that team. I mean, I think it showed on Sunday against Man United that we were missing him. But yeah, from a returns point of view, I think he's been a bit fortunate. It's been mainly set pieces, hasn't it, in terms of his 2 goals. So I don't think that's necessarily sustainable. I mean, you look at Onana in his last 3 starts has got zero point 0.7 xg, zero point 0.8 xg, 0.08, sorry, xg combined. So next to nothing.
So I've had a look at midfielders at under 5.5 with expected goal involvement more than Rodgers.
hmm
How many do you think there are?
Under 5.5.
5.5 or under?
8.
Very good. Do you want the names?
Yeah, go on.
Of course you do. Luis Sinistera,
hmm
Yankuba Minta, Dango Utara,
hmm
Thomas Soucek, and a load of Fulham players.
I knew
Good
Adama
segue.
Traore's got to be on that list,
So
just off
this is
Saturday.
this is interesting. I mean, Smith-Rowe is higher as well at 5.7, it's worth saying. So to repeat, Morgan Rogers expected goal involvement this season 1.99. Alex Iwobi 2.29. Andreas Pereira 2.47. Adama Traore 3.9. And I think 3.8 of that was at the Etihad, wasn't it, Lewis?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I knew he'd be at the top as soon as I knew where you were going with that conversation straight away.
Okay. All right. Serious question then. I feel like no one would consider right now moving Morgan Rogers to Traore or Pereira or Iwobi or even Smith Rowe. Should they consider it?
Yeah. I mean, look, the next 5 are some of the best fixtures around. So, and I don't know what Villa's are off the top of my head, but I'd imagine you could flip that quite easily. I've said all season, I said to you in pre-season that Adama Traore has been really good. Um, and it's just the returns, isn't it? From a fantasy point of view, he's really good in our system because he does things that defenders don't like, and they think it's 3 games in a row where the man marking him has either been moved sides or been substituted. Um, so
Okay, so different question to you then. On Traore specifically, how many
yeah.
midfielders in FPL at any price do you think we're going to expect to go involvement higher than Traore's?
Hmm. Over 7 games. What was his
3.9.
3.9 over 7? 6?
You, sir, are very good. Cole Palmer, Mo Salah, Bukayo Saka, James Maddison, Brian Bumo, Anthony Gordon, and then Adama Traore. Right, Lewis, he can't finish for Toffee though, can he? So, like, how much do we factor this in? It's 5.1.
I can't believe you've resisted saying the word crapid, James.
He is, isn't he? I really like him actually, but it's the decision making at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a fantasy asset, he's probably not, but you
He's not
know,
7 million, is it? If he's 7 million, we go, oh, whatever. He's
yeah.
5.1.
Yeah, I just think I'd rather have Smith-Rowe. I think my ranking would probably be for the midfielder Smith-Rowe, Iwobi, Traore, Pereira. I think that would be how I ranked it.
So you'd say Wobie over Traore.
Yeah, I just think he's got better composure. I think for in terms of fantasy, however, in terms of watching Fulham play, I mean, I'd want to watch Traore every game. He doesn't know what he's doing, so neither does the opposition, and it's just fun.
He absolutely impacts Traore the way teams play
100%. Yeah.
because you can't just leave it.
No.
Um, there is a hope and a pray element against him that he will himself be the weakness.
Yeah, but
Because he
he's
could just rip apart
composure.
anyone at any moment. People only have to look at that Cole Walker clip from the weekend. It's absurd.
He is like obviously we joke about him being crapted, but I still think his composure is getting better. And I mean, maybe not in one-on-ones, but the cross he put in for Jimenez's goal against Newcastle, it was on his weak foot and it was a good ball. He scored against Ipswich, which was a composed finish. Wasn't exactly a tap in, he still had to get it in the back of the net, which is clearly something that's hard for him. So he is improving. I'm just not sure. I I think
Right,
also
one more for you. One more for you. Adama Traore's expected goal involvement this season is higher than Ollie Watkins.
yeah, God,
Love it.
That's hilarious, isn't it?
yeah, I'm picking Ollie
That is
Watkins all day.
Ollie Watkins is the fifth highest forward, understandably. And Adama Traore's expected goal involvement higher than that.
So the question is Adama Traore a
I
captaincy
wouldn't go
option
near
this
Traore,
weekend?
just for clarity. I wouldn't go near him.
I thought you were going to say you might captain him.
No, there's rogue and there's rogue. I wouldn't consider him because of what I've seen on my eyes over the last 7, 8 years or so.
No, I feel the same.
Okay,
Um,
that's very interesting. It doesn't like an alarming number for Watkins, though, Lee.
Yeah, yeah, that surprised me because that is concerning.
But then Watkins is fifth highest for forwards. You also have to factor in with Watkins in comparison to some of these other forwards. Obviously, it's not on penalties.
Yeah,
And I think he kind of, how would we say this, limped into the season,
yeah,
basically. Be fair
yeah,
to say, you almost want to take one game of Watkins' data off him, I think,
yeah.
combined from the first two. That said, I mean, he obviously should have scored against Arsenal in game week 2. Before we finish, Lewis, what's expectations for Fulham now this season? What does good look like when this season finishes?
I said 10th team in pre-season, um, but honestly, I think if we could play like we played against City in the harder games this season, then we'll take points away. And if you can do that and improve the away form like we have so far, then maybe Conference League. It wouldn't surprise me if we sat here and said that Fulham finished above Man United. You know, that wouldn't surprise me. They go above Newcastle because they're not exactly.
That's the clip, Nico. Send him viral. Send him abuse.
That's not, Newcastle are another one that aren't exactly performing very well at the minute. There's something
I
that
wouldn't have
we
got
need
for expect to get through a podcast with you here without you getting a Newcastle dig in, mate.
to do. I enjoyed that one the most this season.
Okay. And Lee, for yourselves, are you at a state? Have you got to get back in the Champions League, or is it enjoy the ride this year?
No, it's definitely the target to stay in the Champions League. I
Is it a
think that's
failure
it.
if you don't? Do you feel like that
Um,
now?
it'll feel like it. I don't think it
It's
should
it's
be.
it's
I'd be,
really tough the first time you get in to
yeah,
get in the second year. It's really tough.
exactly. I'd be quite forgiving if we finish sixth and have a good season in terms of maybe a cup run or something. I'd be quite forgiving of that. But I do think a lot of Villa fans now are like, we have to get in again. Um, yeah, this is where we belong. We're back where we belong is the mentality, especially of the sort of old guard of Villa fans.
I understand that. I think you've both got exceptional managers. I think Emery's been well documented. Although don't talk to him about Arsenal fans to get way too upset. I mean, Marco Silva really knows what he's doing as well, Lewis. I think he's a really good
Yeah,
football manager, actually. All right, good stuff, gents. Let's do predictions before we finish. Lewis,
2-1. Follow.
2-1 Fulham. Late.
1-1.
Why?
I just think it's a really tough place to go. Um, yeah, and we don't know what the status is with Konsa. He could still be out. Onana might still be out. No McGinn is pretty confident. I think it won't be any McGinn involvement. Yeah, I think it's a really tough place to go. They're a good side, and they're in really good form. I think they'll be confident, and Fulham will be feeling like they can win. Like Lewis says, beat anyone at home.
Yeah, it feels more likely to me, Lee, that you get beat and win. I think probably the
Mm.
same as you. I think probably draw. I think this constant news is important though. Carlos doesn't convince me, mate. And
No, me
interesting, you
neither.
looked at buying him, didn't you, Lewis?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we got Anderson over what I've seen of Carlos this season is,
I
you
mean,
know,
Carlos on both goals at Ipswich, Lee, was really
Yep,
bad.
it's comical.
yep. No, it's not good. But then against Bayern, he plays the whole 90 and we keep a clean sheet. Like, weird.
Yeah, but that's with Konsa and Torres either side of him, and you're probably going in deep quite a lot.
Yeah,
Whereas now, Matty Cash is a very different player. If Konsa's out, it's Cash over
yes,
Torres either
that's
side.
true.
And you might get him pulled out into those areas like he got pulled out against Delap. And Delap destroyed him, mate. What's he going to do
Yeah,
if he ends up that side against Iwobi or Traore, mate?
exactly. No, Carlos Cash as a pairing on that right hand side of the defence is concerning.
So, what Lewis says is by Alex Iwobi because Alex Iwobi will go back to the left, won't he, Lewis? Or will he go, oh, Villa are vulnerable on that side. Let's put Traore on the left
Yeah,
again.
I think you could do that as well. But I think it's not something like we've not really seen them switch over. You see a lot of wingers switch over during the game. It's not really something we've ever seen, apart from against
I
City.
absolutely think you should do that more.
Yeah, I
Could you
do.
imagine the fullback thinking, oh my God, he's bringing Traore over to my side? Like, it would be like, oh my God. You imagine Luca Dean's face, isn't it? Boss, sub, get Matson
Hamstring.
on. I think, yeah, that's a tactic you should use more, actually.
Yeah, I think you will. I think you will.
Good stuff. Thank you both so much. Lewis, anything we missed or you want to plug before we finish, my friend?
No, nothing at all.
Good stuff. Same for you, Lee.
No, all good. Just the usual. Subscribe to Patreon if you haven't already.
Well sold. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Patreon.com/Planet FPL. You can regularly find Lee and Lewis on our Slack, actually, particularly Lee having a whinge and dig at other people, actually. Another COTC for you before we get round to game week 8. It's Wolves versus Manchester City next Thursday with Bradley Parker and Johnny Pringle. Before that, Ask James stream for you tomorrow, scheduled for 1 p.m. UK time. Just sees me to say thanks so much to Lewis and Lee. That is your names, yes. Cue music, please, man child.